Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast, where each week we speak with brands, icons, innovators, and trailblazers within the fly fishing industry, exploring both the successes and failures they've encountered along the way to become who they are today. But first, if you have not yet subscribed to the podcast or joined our email list, please do so by going to the flyfisherinsiderpodcast.com, or you can also find us on Instagram at flyfisherinsiderpodcast. Now let's begin. Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. This is Greg, your host. I am live from All Alaska Outdoors Lodge up here with Bob Ledda, the owner. And guys, this is our first live show, so I'm super excited. There's going to be a lot of people in the background as well, so a little heads up. We got Forrest from Rock Treads here. We have one of the guys from Douglas Outdoors here, and of course we have Maddie Brianneman and her sister Mackenzie. So they could be coming in and out anytime. But Bob, welcome to the show, and before we get going and talking too much, why don't you tell us a bit about the lodge and how you came into the lodge?
Well, I guess that goes back a long ways. You know, as a kid, I took everybody else fishing. You know, my dad was a fisherman, and he kind of put fishing in my blood. And I was the kid that took the other kids from down the street whose dads didn't fishing, and so I kind of was a born guide. I guess it was just a genetic predisposition. And as I went through school and got to medical school, the year before I came to started medical school, I came up here to the Kenai Peninsula, and I got to commercial salmon fish for a year, and pretty much decided then this is where I wanted to live. And just the idea of, I was going to build a fishing lodge sprung into my head at that time.
So you built this property and everything we see?
Yes, this was when I bought my house that's next door to the lodge. This was a barren lot. So were those 3 acres across the street. And so I bought this lot at the same time that I bought my house, and then I hired a guy that was a logsmith, and he and I went out and we cut all these trees down at an area called Anchor Point, which is on the way to Homer. And, we paid a guy to skid them out of the woods in the winter, and then we peeled them, and I actually built the sauna down there at the lodge. The logsmith taught a class, and we did the sauna as part of the class, and then I finished it. And then he built this structure, and I generaled the foundation, and we moved the structure from where he built it over to here. In other words, numbered it, labeled it, and restacked it. And then we opened in 1996, and I think we had 29 people the first year. We probably average around 300 to 400 now a year. The fishing was a lot different back then. Back then the king salmon were still reigning supreme, and that was the big draw, the Kenai River king salmon fishery. We've evolved a lot now. We do a lot more fly fishing, a lot more ecotourism. We still fish for kings, but frequently they're catch and release only, so that sort of limits things a little bit. Of course, the sockeye salmon fishery is where most of the meat comes from. If you want to bring home a ton of salmon, you come in late July, early August, and fish the sockeye fishery.
You were telling me, how much did your wife harvest?
This year was probably the best fishing I'd ever seen. They raised the limit to 6 fish from 3 fish on July 18th, and she went almost every night. Of course, I'm laid up with this Achilles tendon rupture, so she's going down to my uncle's dock on the Kenai River. He has one of these grates that you can stand on, and I don't think she ever spent more than 2 hours to get her 6 fish limit, and I looked in the freezer, she put up 250 pounds of fillets. Wow. So we're pretty well set for salmon. I'm not going to kill any silvers this year because silvers are down a little bit. They're down in all the fisheries, or most of the fisheries, but as you could see today, not down so much that it wasn't spectacular fishing, but you got to realize we went to a place that basically nobody fishes because of the difficulty of getting there.
We're going to get into that, so definitely we're going to get into that a bit about what we did today and where we went, because that's definitely a highlight that you guys offer here at the lodge, which is super cool. But a bit more about the lodge. So you developed the property, you worked on the property. It's been here for quite a few years. You have
96. This is our 22nd year, I think.
You have 2 planes down at the dock right now.
I have a beaver and a cub, and those 2 planes are owned by the lodge, and this is what we do usually, our ultimate expedition trip, where the plane stays with you all day. Now today we had a few more people and a little bit more work to do, so we used the Talon Air air service,
which is
and
great.
used his turbine otter because we could haul a bunch of people at once.
And there was a lot of gear and stuff. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And so it was kind of nice. I mean, it kind of allowed us to throw Jesse in, the cameraman, because it's more seat space. And but normally the Ultimates, usually it's the Beaver going out for the day and the plane stays with you.
Yeah.
And I kind of conceived of that trip, pretty much when I first got up here. That's what I wanted to do, is go do multi-stop all-day flyouts where the plane stayed with you and you fished for all kinds of different species in one day and saw a tremendous amount of country,
And wildlife.
Oh, yeah. Today we saw brown bears, black bears, mountain goats, Dall sheep, harbor seals. I saw a bald eagle when we landed.
And a ton of silvers.
And we saw a ton of silvers, yeah.
So I want to ask you, with the flyouts, and you're going on your flyouts, is that something that the guests, like, when they come to the lodge, like, do you offer different tiers or different packages for flyouts, or how does the flyouts work?
So really, what we have is probably, I would say, the most versatile array of activities available on the Kenai Peninsula. Okay, in other words, I offer more different types of trips than just about anybody. Part of it's because I'm really the only operation that has its own Beaver and does these Ultimates.
Yeah.
Where the plane stays with you. The problem is the air charter services, they want to do drop-offs because they want to keep that plane flying where it's making money.
With the guests.
When you sacrifice that Beaver for a day and say, it's only going to fly 3 hours and make its money for 3 hours of flight, it's going to stay with the people. You're losing some potential revenue. But for me, to create that next tier of versatility, that premier trip that really nobody else is offering, it's worth it because it helps get people to my lodge, and that's what I need is to be busy with lots of guests, So that works out well from that perspective. But what we allow you to do is look at all the trips that we offer. Here's what it costs to stay here for the week. As you've seen, we have complete kitchens, full facility. It's like living in an apartment.
It's not like living in an apartment, Bob.
Okay.
This is like 20 steps up from living in an apartment. I lived in an apartment before, and I mean, you got to see my view. You got to see how beautiful the lodge itself is. The taxidermy, the cabin, the walls, everything. And
looking out the window at the lake and the planes taking off. Right. I guess I should say the infrastructure is consistent with having your own apartment.
But it's comfortable.
That's quite. Yeah. But it's an apartment that's pretty roomy. It's very rustic.
Forrest from Rock Sheds. What did you say?
It's like a VRBO.
There you are.
They take you fishing.
Yeah. Right. So you've got that price. You're going to come and stay. And then you just go through the menu and order what you want.
Yeah.
But we have to decide that in advance. In other words, because the planes get scheduled and the halibut trips get scheduled and the river trips get scheduled. So it's not like you just show up and then you kind of go down the menu each day and order what you want for tomorrow. You sort of decide you're going to come stay with All Alaska Outdoors. And then you look at the menu and you go, that menu looks pretty good. And you say, this is what we're ordering for the week while we're there. And then I put together this complicated puzzle that involves all the guests at the lodge going different directions every day. And basically, when your day comes up for the Ultimate, we hope like heck we have the weather.
Yeah.
That being said, today was not the day for the Ultimate. We had a ptarmigan hunt today. I took the guys up and dropped them off for ptarmigan, and by the way, they did phenomenal. They got their limits.
I heard that.
They saw hundreds and hundreds of birds. The birds are way up. Then we came back and grabbed you guys and said, you know what? We're looking at the long-range forecast. Friday's the day we were going to do this trip. Let's make sure we get over there. Sometimes weather bites us, And obviously, if you book a trip and it doesn't happen, you don't pay for it. We give you a full refund, or maybe you say, well, can we go on the river? And we say, yeah, Monty's going to take you on the river instead, and you pay for that trip instead of the one. You get a discount or a refund. But so you basically can a la carte put together your own package. Now, to be honest, my website, I have a lot of pre-arranged packages. I think I'm going to get rid of them. Yeah. It clutters up the website. It slows down the speed, which affects your search engine optimization.
Well, I think the big thing is, Bob, is like what I've noticed from you is you've interacted with all the guests that have been here. and you kind of know what each person's doing, and you push them off into their direction like appropriately, right? So is that something that, and as well as the young guys that you have as well, I've met forget blanking out on their names right now. Cody and Jason. Yeah. So I met the young guys as well, and like the interaction that they've had has been great. Is that something that the lodge like prides itself on, or it knows what's happening? It's just part of the machine.
You know, I'll be honest. I'm gonna be totally honest. I'm gonna write my
honesty's now is a good time. This is live.
That's okay. Email newsletter. My first one after the season's over is going to be what I learned from my Achilles tendon injury. And what I learned was I really, really like my guests. In other words, I enjoy at the end of the day. I start looking at my watch and going, oh, they're probably back from their trip. And I come sit down and I ask them how things went. I want feedback, you know. And the problem is when I'm out there doing those flyouts, which for the 20 previous years, I've done 50 to 60 flyouts a summer where I've been the pilot guide or pilot with an assistant guide helping me. The problem is when you're out there for 12 hours, you know, you get up at 6:30 in the morning, you get weather, you eat breakfast, go down to the plane at 7:30, you get everything ready, 8 o'clock, you meet at the dock, you take off at 8:30, you get back at 6, you're beat. You know what you come up and ask your wife who helps you manage the lodge? What fires do I have to stomp out? You're not wanting to go visit with every person at the lodge because you got another trip the next day. So what I learned was my highest and best use is back here manning the fort, Yeah. And so, you're right. We take a lot of pride in that. I mean, I try to go visit with everybody. I do, even in the years previous on Saturday night, which Sunday is usually our checkout day, I usually would try to hit everybody. But you know what? I like it a lot more seeing everybody multiple times a day. I mean, I've already visited with the people who fished on the river this morning. They went 5 for 6 on silvers, which is pretty good because it's a tough year with Andrew. And they said Andrew was phenomenal. They loved him, And then, of course, I've already got all the birds and got them in the walk-in cooling off. And made sure that Jason tended to y'all's fish, and he's so fast he's already got it all cleaned and you guys are cooking it.
I think it's on the barbecue now.
Yeah, so fresh silver salmon sizzling on the barbecue.
In the background,
the highest quality protein on planet Earth, silver salmon.
There we are.
Highest in omega-3 fatty acids, full of good protein, full of antioxidants.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great stuff. Let's talk about silver. So today we went out. I don't know. We all did pretty darn well.
I couldn't.
Can you talk about that? Is that? Hurts. Yeah, our arms hurt. I'm sacked from it. The footage is phenomenal. Everyone caught in like multiple catches. Now is that something that your guests when you put them on fish, Bob? Like you put them on fish. And one more thing. When they say it's a slow day in Alaska, it's not really a slow day. I think people need to know that because
the fishing was really good today. For having 4 people fly fishing, and all of you guys could have caught fish in the normal situation, because I watched you guys cast at the lagoon, and those fish were a little far out because there's not I've seen that lagoon with 2,000 to 3,000 fish in it, where they're literally wall to wall, shore to shore. You can stand anywhere and reach a fish.
What's the lagoon's name again? Bay of Pigs?
Bay of Pigs. Well, the Bay of Pigs is the whole fjord, and there's 2 river systems that dump into there that have these really big silvers. The largest strain of silvers I've ever found. This year, they're not nearly as big as most years. I shouldn't say they're not nearly as big, but they're not as...
But that's kind of like all Alaska's trademark, the Bay of Pigs.
I feel like it is. Right? I have really learned how to work that fishery very well. And there's not
it produces.
It's phenomenal. But the thing that was odd today was a seal swam a mile up this rocky river. We're not talking about a river that's flowing and meandering. We're talking about a river that's bouncing over rocks all the way into the lake. And that seal was out about 50 yards, and it was actually pushing those fish towards us. So it was a kind of day where even if I'd have had bad fly fishermen, they could have caught fish today, Yeah. And there's times where you're just like, there's some times where it's like, I'm going to cast and hand you the rod, because you got beginners and they just can't reach the fish. We were very fortunate today. The fish were pushed really towards us, and they were biting phenomenal. And there are some days where they don't bite that good. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Silvers are weird fish. I've had days where I could see hundreds and hundreds of fish and couldn't get them to take. but they were biting great today. I mean, we had doubles on most of the time. Yeah. We had triple on once out of 4 guys. And I remember one time where I looked and nobody had a fish on, and I went, that's the first time I've seen this since we landed the plane.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you were into them right off the get-go.
Yeah. And even you had one on.
I caught one, first fish on a fly this year since I did my Achilles, because they were so close to the shore.
What did you say?
I was able to roll cast.
No waders.
No, I can't wear waders. I got a big boot on my right leg. So
in the Bay of Pigs is something is that like part of the packages, or is that something that like if guests come here they can specifically request Bob take me to the Bay of Pigs? Because
they can. And so the Bay of Pigs, it's viable normally in a normal rainfall year, which we did not have this year. I usually can start getting limits about August 17th to 20th. And then I would say the peak is the first week in September, and it extends well into, I've gone in early October and had good trips. Now in October, you'd have been catching a lot more fish that were colored, and I'd have said, nice fish, pretty fish, let it go. We got to fish for another one. We need one that's bright,
Silver,
and I was just noticing a few of the fish were starting to get some blush, but I didn't see any real red dogs out there yet.
No, neither did I. No. There were some bright ones in there for sure. Now, I know we were talking with the river that just goes along that as well. Potentially, there's dollies.
There's a sea run. Years ago, they used to actually do a fish weir there. Mm-hmm. Did you see the metal that was up on the behind us?
Yeah.
So that used to be a fish weir. They used to come in and set up a fish weir there, and they would count the sockeyes because it's a fairly important commercial run. The sockeyes get commercially fished by purse seiners.
Okay.
So they used to count them, and they would count the dollies also. And I was told by the biologist that it's a 9,000 to 12,000 dolly run.
Which is again available to the guests.
Oh yeah, but we pretty much manage those. We catch and release those. Yeah. We're fine with keeping salmon. In a year when there's tons of fish, I keep salmon on the trips. In a year when there's a moderate amount of fish, I restrict. Hey, look, we're not going to keep any for ourselves, but you guests keep your limit. Yeah. And then I have had years where the fish were down enough where I said, you're wanting to catch a 15-pound silver on your fly rod. This is the best place to go. You will probably catch one, but I don't want you to kill it. And if they're not accepting that, I'll say then I'm going to refund your money because I don't want to kill fish, because I'm stewarding these resources for my own future. Because when you're fortunate enough that you have an amazing fishery that really not many other people know about or can access, you're stupid if you ruin it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, and so I pay attention to what I think the escapement is. And then I base my behavior as a guide, as a personal fisherman, based on what it looks like. Mm-hmm. And like this year, they're late, but there's going to be plenty of fish.
From my perspective, it seemed like there was a ton of fish.
We're going to have a good escapement this year. It's not as big a run as I've seen. Last year was huge.
Well, sometimes there's record runs, but you know what? Like, it's funny when you guys in Alaska, like being from BC, like I thought we got good pushers of fish, but you guys have like tons of fish. We were sitting there in the plane looking out, and like I lost counting after 200. I just didn't want to count any higher.
Yeah, no, and that was the lagoon, and the lagoon was not nearly as many fish as it normally has.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them. Jesse was just saying how he saw them above when he was flying above, right? So, it was crazy. It just
we had the greatest guide today on the planet. He took the drone up and was just like, they're right there. They're right in front of you.
Yeah, that's a good way to go. I like that.
We did have the drone out, and the drone did show us, but, and it helped, and there's pockets of them, right? So, just phenomenal. So, you know what? I want to ask you as well, what else are we to expect this week, just so that our listeners can kind of get an indication of what else you offer?
So, tomorrow you guys are going to fish the middle Kenai River, which is the section right below Ski Lac Lake, the 5 miles or so in the wildlife refuge, where there's pretty good silver fishing. It just turned on in the last couple of days. It's been slow. The guests that were out went 5 for 6 today. And the water's clear up there because it's above the Keeley River, which is a glacial stream that dumps in and dirties up the lower river. So pretty clear water.
So the middle section's clear?
Yeah. It's as clear as the upper river.
Is it a freestone kind of?
It's gravelly.
Gravelly?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good, though.
Yeah, and there's plenty of sockeyes and silvers and humpies spawning in there. And so you guys will either be doing some casting like you were today, stripping streamers for silvers, or you'll be dead drifting flesh flies or beads, or what I call steak and eggs, which is where you put a flesh fly as the hook and you peg a bead, which looks like an egg, 1.5 inches above it, and then that way they have their choice. Because sometimes it's hard to know. That some days they might bite flesh better than the eggs, and other days they might bite eggs, and you got to change colors. But you should have. I mean, I think if you've been following my Instagram post, Monty got a 31-incher about a week ago.
Yeah.
A rainbow.
Yeah.
31-inch.
31-inch rainbows. Wow.
I mean, big.
Are we using 6s or 8s tomorrow?
8s. Use 8s. Yeah, no, on that Kenai River, it's 8s. When we go for the sea run dollies. Now, we're going to try to go back to the Bay of Pigs on the scheduled day.
Yeah, exactly.
We just scrambled. I said, you know what? Let's get this out of the way because we had this weather window. And by the way, guys, we're looking outside. It's raining, low visibility, ceiling's coming down, and the wind is getting ready to blow.
Yesterday was summer. Today's fall, and it looks like we're heading into winter.
Yeah, it changes fast.
But that's
the old saying in Alaska is, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. It'll be different, you know. But
I like it.
So that tomorrow you're going to be river fishing
for 31-inch rainbows.
Well, you got a good chance. Yep. And then on Thursday,
but 27's not bad either.
I won't take the 30s. I'm only catching 31s.
Yeah. Like 27-inch
I tell you
rainbows.
what, those big rainbows are hard to land. They break a lot of hearts.
I bet they do.
They snap leaders like nothing.
I'm ready to have my heart broken tomorrow. I'm ready to.
The following day, Thursday, you guys are going to Crescent Lake West.
Yeah.
And we call it Crescent Lake West because there's one up in the eastern mountains too. So, I mean, they're both called Crescent Lake. But we got Crescent Lake East, Crescent Lake West. Crescent Lake East is grayling. Crescent Lake West is in the summer. In the early summer, we start out fishing dollies and lake trout.
Yep.
Very good fishing. Not really a fly fishery for the lake trout, but the dollies are always good on flies. And then by about the 1st of July, the sockeyes are in there enough that the meat fishermen are going there and catching their meat, and the dollies fishing stays great.
Stays good.
And then by August 1st, the bears have piled in there by the dozens. So brown bears.
So you're sharing.
And so you can go and you can watch brown bears feeding on sockeye salmon in little feeder creeks that dump into the lake.
Yeah.
And then you can break away and you can go out to the outlet river and you can fish for dolly varden. That by this time of year, well, I talked to Alan Talanair, the owner and lead pilot, and he said
he's the one that took us out today.
He's who flew us today. And he said that yesterday the group that was at Crescent West caught about 30 dollies per person, and big ones, like up to 10 pounds. And you're looking at close-up brown bear viewing at the same time.
So that's kind of phenomenal because it's like, here we are, we're in the fall, Adel, Alaska, and you're catching 30 dollies per person. Looking at brown bears. Like
on fly rods. He said they all fly fished yesterday.
Phenomenal. That's a phenomenal fishery. It's a phenomenal time to be here at the lodge to be able to do that. I mean, I know weather-wise it could be a challenge, but like
it is. The later you wait, I mean, the best weather is June, July is 2nd, August is 3rd, and September is the biggest chance of getting your rear end handed to you by some giant system that comes through and lasts 3 days, and about all you can do is fish the river.
Yeah.
But it's also the best chance at having the best day of your life.
And
you know what I mean?
I do know. So it's a gamble, but you know what? It's definitely worth it for sure. So, Bob, what else would you like to say about the lodge? What else do you got coming on? Any programs? Anything coming up that we should know about?
Well, one thing that I do, you probably we were talking a little about health earlier. Wellness, I am a physician, right? And I've been an ER physician for 27 years, and I still practice emergency medicine.
That's here in the town, right?
I used to practice in this town. I now actually travel to Montana because I just had to get to the point. After 25 years of emergency medicine, I had to slow down. I had to find a quieter practice.
That happens.
So I go to a little town in Montana in the winter, and I work 2 weeks a month.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm kind of like a reverse slope worker. Instead of, there's all these people that live outside of Alaska and travel to the North Slope to work and then go home. Well, I'm doing it the opposite direction.
There you are. Yeah.
So, but 6 years ago, I did a study in wellness medicine because I kind of got tired of seeing sick people. And I thought, I'd like to figure out why everybody gets sick, specifically for my own hide. And so I went and I did this training, and I was pretty impressed with it. And so long story short, I ended up going through the fellowship in health and wellness that this Synergenics, which is the name of the parent organization that I joined, and they offered me my own franchise, and so I built my own medical office on the lodge property.
I did see that driving.
And so what I do with that is some people come to the lodge and spend a week, and I call it a wellness week, and I try to do 1 or 2 a summer, where you come in, you do your 6 days of fishing or your 5 days of fishing, and on one of the days I see you and do a very thorough evaluation, like a 7-hour exam day. I mean, I run all kinds of tests on you, a DEXA scan, VO2 max test. I look at your carotid arteries to see if you have any evidence of hardening of the arteries in your neck. I do a full history and physical. I have an exercise nutritionist meet with you, and then we do a giant lab panel. And I basically teach you what your risks are.
I'm just curious, does my medical insurance cover this?
To some extent. Canadian, probably not.
What about the fishing?
The fishing? I don't think so. But anyways, and then on those weeks, I do a lecture every night. So I talk about chronic disease the first night. I do nutrition the second night. I do exercise the third night. I do hormone optimization the fourth night. And then I talk about supplementation on the fifth night. And so I have people that come up, and I've been doing this now for 6 or 7 years. And I mean, I transform people's lives. And if you go to our website, allalaska.com, and you look at the Health and Wellness Week, you can see my pictures the year before I did the training. And it's not like I was sitting on the couch doing nothing. I mean, I was a lifelong exerciser that thought I was eating right, but I didn't know what I was doing, because they don't teach doctors how to take care of your health. They teach doctors how to manage you when you get disease. And there's a huge difference, okay? Yeah. And it's a big fumble, because we need to take care of our population and empower as many people as possible to take care of their own health. Yeah. Because there's a certain number of people that are going to take the information, crumple it up, and throw it in the wastebasket and go back to smoking and drinking as much alcohol as they can and eating whatever they want. But a certain number of people, if they actually knew what they were doing, would alter their behavior and have better outcomes. They should, yeah. And to me, life is what we did today, and food is the fuel for what we did today.
It's what's on the barbecue right
now. Right, and that's the right food to eat. It is. Salmon. Yeah. Fish is the number one source of protein. Mm-hmm. If you want to know the best source of protein to eat, based on my careful analysis of the scientific data, eat as much fish as you can stand to eat. Perfect. Wild fish.
So come to all Alaska.
Well, and wild salmon is number one. There you go. But any wild fish is better than, Number two, eat a lot of vegetables.
What about moose?
Moose, I think wild game is, when the scientific evidence comes out on the grass-fed, we're going to see that the red meat is not what's killing us. It's the inflammatory nature of the red meat that we're eating, because most red meat is fed a ton of grain, and that grain that inflames you with your celiac disease is inflaming those animals, and their fat is being filled with it, and then we're eating those omega-6 fats, and that causes us to be inflamed.
Interesting.
Those moose out there, they're eating nothing but grass. It's all omega-3.
They better be.
Huh?
Swamp donkeys.
Canadian swamp donkeys.
So anyways, so that's the other gig that I have, is I'm trying to, I want to impact as many people's lives to be healthier and enjoy the gift that God gave us, which Alaska is the best place to look at it,
100%.
And so I'm trying to integrate the lodge and a wellness practice together, and I do wellness weeks every year. So let me see, there's that. We're really trying to build up our bear viewing experience in June. We have tremendous bear viewing in June.
Okay. We just flew over some glaciers if we saw 3 bears.
Right. Well, I saw a black bear with 2 cubs at one point, and then I saw a brown bear with 2 cubs at one point. And you're gonna be up close to bears on Thursday. You guys will be doing plenty of bear viewing pictures.
I know Maddie doesn't want to get too close to bears.
She doesn't?
No.
Well, she'll be in a boat. She'll be in a boat.
Yeah, in a boat, then it's good.
So
that's funny. So we got bear viewing, we got the wellness, we got the fishing programs. Anything else?
Well, the saltwater fishing's pretty amazing, you know.
How far? Speaking of that, so if I came here, if I wanted halibut or whatnot, and if I came in the halibut season, right?
Season, you can still halibut fish.
So how far is that from here?
Well, we've got 3 different locations that we fish out of. So the closest one is a halibut only fishery, and it's out down there at Deep Creek, which is Deep Creek and Anilchik. They actually launch these big boats with these giant tractors.
Now, when you say creek,
right into the ocean.
When you say creek, I'm thinking creek.
It is a creek.
And the halibut are in the creek?
Well, no. It just happens to be Deep Creek is the name of a river, and there's a tractor launching site at that park.
Gotcha.
So you go down there, you park, you pay the captains pay the guys $50 to put the boat in the water. You get in the boat on land.
Yep.
They back it into the ocean, and then they go out and they halibut fish. And it's a single tide, so you go out and you fish for about 2.5 hours during slack tide. You catch your halibut, you come back in. The better trips,
Just like that.
For one tide.
Wow.
The better trips that I like are out of Seward and Homer. Now, each trip is these are your tough days. This is where the clients come back and they're all bloodshot, and they're like, we need a day off, because they got to leave here at about 4:30 in the morning to get to the boat at 6:30, because it's about an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
But they go out and they fish from about 6:30 till about 6 at night. They get back to the dock. The captains clean all the fish, and then they bring the fish back here where we vacuum pack them. But the typical multi-species trip out of Seward or Homer will result in limits of sea bass, which are a rockfish, yellow eye, which are another type of rockfish, salmon, which are they're awesome. Salmon, which are, depending on the time of year, they might be fishing for kings, they might be fishing for silvers, and of course your 2 halibut.
Exactly.
So we have, you could go to our Instagram page and see just the consistency of the halibut trips. You see halibut, you see salmon, you see rockfish. Yeah. We have sometimes people come back, 2 people go out, they come back with 100 pounds of fillets, literally.
Wow.
I mean, on a really good day.
What? Speaking of that, I want to quickly talk about that. So you get the trips. So you come back with your 100 pounds of fillets, and then you have like a whole system here, whole processing system here.
I got Jason.
Yeah, you got Jason, but Jason's the whole processing system in himself, and you just don't have to do nothing.
Jason is awesome. I've had him for probably 12, 13 years. He completely manages my entire processing operation. I don't even think about it. I'm going to cry if he ever quits. He manages all the equipment, which is the vacuum sealers, the freezer, the refrigerator. He orders all the boxes. He orders all the vacuum sealer bags. He does all the FedEx shipping when people insist on not taking their fish with them, which is a bad idea, but because it's way cheaper to just check it as baggage. But anyways, we commercial vacuum pack in 7 mil, high quality vacuum sealer bags, all of your fish. It's airline ready. It's boxed up in airline approved boxes. And that's all part of that's included in our lodging price.
And there's just like no headaches there at all. It's included.
I don't charge. I don't pay attention to how much. It's like if you catch a legal limit of fish, you don't have to be on a guide. Yeah. If you come and stay at my lodge and you want to go freelance and fish every day on the Kenai River like my wife did, and come back with your 6 fish limit, we process it, vacuum seal, box it up, ready to go.
Yep, sent to your house. Perfect.
If you're on a guided trip, we do the same thing.
Can't make it easier than that. So for sure. You know what, Bob? So much. I can't thank you enough.
It was a great day. I liked watching you fish. You did really well.
Yeah, today was a good day. Yeah.
I was smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah. I hooked up with some pretty nice fish today. We all hooked up with some pretty nice fish, but I know.
Mention all the people that are excited to be with. And be associated with this.
And we are, you know what? While we're at it, you know what, Bob?
I was wearing a Douglas fly rod hat all day long.
Well, that's only one of the few people that are involved here. So we have Douglas, we have Rock Treads, we have Loon Outdoors, we have Lampson, we have Scientific Anglers. Who am I forgetting? We have Candy Creek, we have, of course, Fish Pond, huge sponsor right there. so many people involved with today to make it happen. We had Talon Air flying us out, which is Alan was great on Talon Air as well. So he was there. His dogs, nicest dogs in the world. Maddie. What do we got here? Forrest, just to get folks want to know at home, Forrest just gave Bob some rock shreds. Bob's looking at the rock shreds going, how's this going to fit on his boot?
Oh, I see. I got it. You screw them into the bottom of your boots.
Well, it's for this boot. No, I'm just fucking.
I don't. Right now, I don't need waders. Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Bob's got his new boot with his rock shreds screwed.
Yeah, he needs it.
It's a medical boot, so I love it. So, no, I just
can't use felt here, so you're stuck with rubber or studs.
You bet.
Rubber's terrible.
Yeah.
So
so you know what I liked about these, and I'm going to tell you,
yeah.
and I'm just looking at them because guys come in with those. I ask for what's the typical what do you call the you got rubber, you got felt, and then I'm drawing a blank.
With the studs.
Studs.
Yeah.
I ask people, please don't use the studs because the problem is they tear up my composite floats.
Yeah.
But these wouldn't do that because they got a bigger footprint. Those
no
studs just destroy my floats.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a lot of
Are these mine to try?
Yeah, we've had a lot of lodges up here that like them because aluminum on aluminum, it may scratch it, but it's not going to hurt it.
And these work pretty good. You don't fall in the river.
Yeah, that's the whole point. We're the official attraction of the World Fly Fishing Championships this year, so we'll be going to Tasmania.
The official traction. I like that.
Yes, well, it's a big milestone there as well, for sure. So definitely a great time. Can't wait to get out tomorrow. Can't wait to fish the rest of the week. So Bob, I want to thank you so far, and I want to thank you guys, the listeners, as well. So make sure you stay tuned. Bob, really quickly, where are we sending our traffic?
Allalaska.com.
Yeah.
If you want to follow us on Instagram, I've got an Instagram account. I'm new at it.
No, you do want to follow you on Instagram. So
and then we do have a pretty good Facebook following, and we have an email newsletter. So if you go to the website, and you click the sign up for the email newsletter, I'll get that, and I'll go ahead and get you signed up for our email newsletter, and I won't share your email with anybody else. And then I guess the other thing is, if you follow Facebook and you want to read about health and wellness, I am doing a blog. I'll eventually also start a YouTube channel. But if you search on Facebook, Wellness Patients, I will get a message that you want to join my group, and I will approve it. And you can read about what I think about how people should eat and why exercise matters and just the different things that I cover.
But you are a doctor.
Yeah, so I'm a physician.
Physician. Doctors.
Yep. Doctor, physician, yep.
Same thing. I hear you. Awesome. You know what, guys? I want to thank you as well. So